right, welcome back, everyone. This is Melissa, and we are here with another episode of Behind the Scenes with the Goal Driven Team. And we are here today with Joni Chester. Hey, Joni.
Hey, Melissa.
She is going to join us today and share with us just all the good stuff that we've been bringing so that you can get a even closer look into just the lives and working with the therapists we have here at GDC. So we go way back quite a few years. We worked together here locally. Yeah. Oh, that's a lot of years.
Yeah.
7 years. We worked together here locally in St. Louis County government. And man, we went through licensure together. We worked on supervision teams together. I jokingly have called her Mama Joni quite a few times. She always gives me such good just advice, and she's just so loving and open ears all the time. And I've just been really fortunate to have her be a part of my life for, oh my gosh, almost 10 years. That's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah, she's been super supportive too, just in the transition here with GDC. And I'm just glad that she is now a part of the team too. So Joni, welcome again. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I kind of came to social work late in life. I waited till after my kids were grown till I decided to take some time for myself. And I decided to start college classes at a little bit late age in life. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea what I was going to do with the degree if I got one. And finally, at one point, I had this light bulb moment, and I just realized that social work was the path for me. And I realized I'd been doing it all my life and just didn't know that's what it was called.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to UMSL, and I got my bachelor's and master's in social work there. I've kind of stayed connected to UMSL because I teach there. I'm an adjunct professor in the social work department. And I also work in the Alumni Association with Melissa. We work together on trying to get that organization going.
Yeah.
In my free time, what I like to do for fun is I like to read. I like to do a lot of crafts, and I like to decorate my house. So before the shelter-in-place order took effect, I used to go to antique malls and thrift stores and just different places, just trying to find that perfect little unique thing to decorate my house. But now I have a 2.5-year-old grandson, and spending time with him is what I enjoy the most right now. He's just the cutest, most adorable little boy you'll ever meet.
That is so cool. And so you have an eye too. So we heard Jamaica has an eye for thrifting, and you have an eye for antique stores, and I've seen your decoration and your creation. So they are awesome.
The quest is the fun part.
Yeah.
Just keep searching till you find the right thing.
That is so cool. I love that. So Joni, you go by the validating therapist. Tell us a little bit about just who is the validating therapist? How do we get there?
Well, I think for me, it's about being empathetic with people and realizing how they're feeling and validating those feelings. I've worked a lot with teenagers. I work with adults and teenagers, but in the past I've worked a lot with teenagers. And I feel like even though there's this big gap in age, I can relate to them because I can remember what I felt like as a teenager. I remember that whatever was happening at the time just seemed like the most, life-changing, earth-shattering thing that could ever happen. And I think now that what happens is a lot of adults don't recognize that anymore. They realize now, okay, I'm older, I've had these other things happen, those things weren't important, and young people are overreacting. I feel like it's important to validate those feelings because they're very, very real.
Joni, you brought up a good point because it makes me think about the idea of just meeting your clients where they are, and your clients being the expert of their life, even if it's in that moment, in time. So I love that you think about and you really highlight the importance of validation, that I think a lot of people don't have throughout life. And you talked a lot about how it's super important, with teenagers. Can you talk a little bit more about the need for or the importance of validation throughout other times in our lives through our lifespan?
hmm Well, actually, I have a client who is a little bit older, and she came to me because she was really struggling with telling people no. She
Mm-hmm.
felt like she always had to do everything that everyone asked of her, and it was just beginning to really overwhelm her. And so, mostly our sessions revolved around me validating her feelings that it was overwhelming and letting her know that it's okay to say no. It's sometimes you have to put yourself first, but she felt guilty for doing it. So we talked through all of those feelings. So
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of other times besides just when you're a teenager that you're worried about what other people think about what you feel. And
Mm-hmm.
really those feelings are okay. Whatever you feel is okay.
Yeah.
Whatever you're feeling in that moment, you're entitled to those feelings.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's partly my role to validate those feelings and say it's okay.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds to me too like before they're able to grant themselves permission to know that those feelings are okay, you kind of do that and model that
Mm-hmm.
for them, which is really cool.
I actually said that like literally. It is okay to say no. It is okay to put yourself first once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And, eventually she saw that that was true,
Mm-hmm.
and came around to
I
believe
love
it.
that.
So,
And that's a big deal. It sounds so simple, I think,
hmm
people, but when you have a history of being invalidated, right? Talk to us a little bit about that, like invalidation and what that even means and what that can do to us.
I think what happens for a lot of people, if they talk about their feelings to somebody, people want to dismiss that
Mm-hmm.
feeling or they don't know how to deal with it. And so they want to tell people, like, you don't really feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
You're not really mad. You're not really upset. Or I don't want to hear about it, kind of a thing. And I think eventually that leads people to just shut down
Yep.
and not share their feelings. And so that's why I believe it's important for people to share their feelings and to be told that those feelings are okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think my all-time worst one that I hear is when people are sharing their feelings and they're told, "Oh, if I were you, I would." Like, no,
Exactly,
the
exactly.
quickest way to dismiss.
And you don't know what you would do. It's easy to say that, but you don't know what you would do. But I
Absolutely.
think that's partly the role of a therapist too, is to put yourself in that place and know how, empathize with what that person's feeling
Mm-hmm.
at that moment.
Mm-hmm. And it's not
And
personal for us, right? Like we
yes,
have an investment in their life, like as a friend or a family member. So we have the ability to be more, objective.
exactly,
Mm-hmm. I
exactly.
love
Because
that.
it's not going to affect us personally,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
I love that you prioritize that and you put that like really high, just kind of on the list of your role in other people's lives.
hmm
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell us, I think I've asked a lot of other questions from your title, and you've given us a little bit of this already. But tell me just a little bit, or tell us a little bit more about what it's like to work with you.
Well, like I started to say, I try to offer somebody a safe place to talk about whatever they want to talk about.
Mhm.
I believe that a therapist needs to be empathetic and be able to put themselves in the place of the client so that they can know, kind of guess what that feels like, at least, even if you don't know. But the client needs to be able to feel that you're empathetic with their feelings and their situation. So I think that's important. Um, what the other thing is that we have to be flexible.
Mhm.
So I feel like what happens in a lot of sessions is, we have these goals we've worked on that, the client has decided on and we're working on, something else comes up.
Mhm.
So right away, we just switch to whatever's important at that moment is what we're going to work on.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes that means, as a therapist, I have to be flexible and put aside anything I had planned for the session and just listen to the client and go with what they're going with. Um, I feel like it's important for a therapist to help the client along in the process, but not make decisions for them and not tell them what to do. So I feel like my role is to provide, gentle interventions and some suggestions and just say, here's an idea, but what do you think about that? How do you feel about this? Do you think this is something you could do? And if not, we move on to something else. The other thing I like to do when I'm working with a client is to go through all of their options, go through everything, and then go back through the options and say, here are the consequences of choosing those options. You pick plan A, this and this and this happens. You go with plan B, this and this and this could happen. And then let the client make an informed decision. I like to give them all the information I can so that when they do make that decision, and it's their decision to make, they at least have all the information there and can use that to make the best decision for them. And it's not always what I think is the best decision. Sometimes it's, it's got to be what they want, not always what I want. So.
Oh, that's good. So again, I'm hearing that theme of partnership, right? Like, yes, I'm supporting you, but you lead the way, you take the wheel.
Right.
Haven't got the tagline in there yet.
There you go.
But they're the drivers of their lives, and
they are.
You hop in the passenger seat, but you got to be flexible. You give options, you listen, you validate, you change courses when they need to change courses. And that just sounds like the essence of a supportive therapeutic relationship.
I can be the GPS but they can say, I want to go a different route. And that's what we go with. So
that is really cool. See, we got the whole car analogy.
Got that in there.
In there too. That is so awesome. So in this time where now more clinicians, more just people in general are aware now that therapy absolutely can be done like this online, as many people have transitioned in this time. Some like it, some don't, some realize, hey, this is all we have. But since you've been doing this with us for coming up, on a couple years now.
Years, right.
Right. You've been doing this with us, almost a couple of years virtually. Tell me what has been benefits that you see with virtual counseling for clients or for clinicians, or just overall, what's some benefits that you see with doing services in this way?
I think just the convenience for everybody, is one of the big things. For clients, they don't have to go out. If it's bad weather, if it's hot, rainy, cold, they can just stay at home and do it. And for the clinician too, we don't have to go out and worry about going to work, on an icy, snowy day. But I think the real benefit that I have found is that clients tend to be much more relaxed and open and honest when they're in comfortable, familiar surroundings. Yeah. So for me, I feel like it takes away some of that formality, and they're just more, they're more receptive to being open and having more of a discussion rather than, like a therapist lecturing a client. It's more of a discussion. And I was not sure I would like it. I am a people person. I like to be, in person with somebody. I like that. So I wasn't sure how this was going to work for me, but I really like it. And it's the fact that we can see each other, I think, makes a huge difference in how that works. It's not just like a phone conversation. You can actually see the person. And so it doesn't feel all that different from being in person.
Yeah. Made another transition. Well, this was awesome, Joni. Thank you so much for just giving us a moment again behind the screen with you, behind, I feel like we were pulled into like kind of a mock session of what this feels like, how you guide it, how you engage with your clients. And I really hope in doing this series that people realize how, normalized therapy can be. We're humans, we're people. We have, the education, the skill to partner and do this work, but it's still all about the client. And just getting, people to realize that it's okay to partner with someone and do this in this way. So Again, thank you, Joni. Thank you to everyone that also joined us today for this behind the screen interview with Joni. If you have any questions or comments, if you want to work with Joni, all of those links are going to be listed below. But again, just thank you for joining us. So see you, Joni.
Bye, Melissa. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome.